Welcome to Tanakh Talk. I'm your host, JulieTaylor, hosting from Palmer, Alaska, and broadcasting live out of Kingsland, Texas, with another episode of Women's World with Leah Michaelson from the Holy Land of Israel. Well, hello, dear.
Shalom, gorgeous. Oh my gosh. I feel like it's been forever.
It's been way too long. Man, we go a week without seeing each other, and I'm having Leah withdrawals.
And I'm having Julie withdrawals, and now we went 2 weeks. So
we did.
But it's
How are
so
you?
good to see you. Baruch Hashem. I'm good. How are you? You had an exciting time.
I did. I jumped in a plane and escaped for a little while.
How wonderful.
I kind of took a little risk. All my friends and family are like, why are you flying right now? Aren't you worried? I'm like, you know what? I just have to get out of here for a little while. So my darling friend, who you know also, one of our friends on Facebook, Rachel, invited me down to her house. She lives in Southern Illinois. And I had never met her before, just through the Facebook. And we had a fantastic time. And she is just amazing in person. What a sweet, sweet lady. She has a tea shop, and she was open a couple days a week. So I got to help her down there. And it was just fantastic. We went on horseback rides and side-by-side rides through farm communities and visited all the neighbors, and it was just super refreshing. So
I'm so glad.
Yeah,
I'm so glad you had that. Isn't it wonderful when you can meet a Facebook friend in person? You can be friends for the longest time, and then it's just amazing. I look forward to that date when you and I get to meet in person.
I know, me too. So far, everybody that I've met through Tanakh Talk and some of the other ladies groups have been even more incredible in person. It's just been such a blessing to have a community of ladies that are like-minded, and we have so much to share, and a lot of us don't have close people in our own hometown that we can discuss Torah and these kind of things.
Sure.
So it is a blessing for sure. I'm
so glad you had that time. Yeah. Ladies, the photos were incredible. If you haven't seen them, go to Julie's Facebook page, because I was like, when I saw you horseback riding, I miss that so much. And we have a place here. I'm hoping that I'll be able to go do that one day soon. Good. I miss it. I had a couple horses many years ago. And there's like a freedom and horses are just such magnificent creatures. And
they are.
And just that being in nature and the farmland. And, it was just beautiful, beautiful. So how is it being back home?
Well, I got home, not last night, the night before. And I thought, I'm going to be so tired dragging with the time change and all the travel. But it's not been bad. But it is always good to get back home, back to your own bed in your own routine. But
so are things, have they all completely opened up there? I know last we spoke, the salons and other places were opening up.
Salons and those things are open. Restaurants are still limited seating, not fully open, but it's definitely, I think we're in stage 3 of opening.
Okay.
And we have not had any new cases in a while.
Oh, so, wonderful.
I think it's run its course and is on its way out.
Oh, that's good. Yes. Yeah. It needs to give it a good kick in the pants.
Yes.
It needs to be gone already.
How about over there? Are you guys opening up more?
Yeah, actually, schools opened up yesterday. And so we'll see. I mean, all the stores are opened up. Restaurants are still just for delivery and takeout. They have not allowed the opening of any of the shuls, our synagogues here. It's still, minions are still outside in the open. We still need to social distance. We still need to wear a mask. And we're in the midst of a heat wave right now. And it's been over 100 degrees here since like the end of last week.
Oh my
and
goodness.
I think it started I don't know, it might have been around Thursday or even like by Shabbat. I don't even remember. It's like my days go one right into the other. And it's hot. So you can imagine wearing a mask and going out in this. Man. It's, I'm just like, today I think it's the first day I put makeup on in a long time, ladies, because I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to melt off my face.
Totally.
But as of right now, I am tearing a little bit. But anyways, but it's good. I mean, things are good. And, Moshe and I are having our short walks. Moshe, ladies, if you're not aware, is my dog. And so we're doing short walks. He wants to keep going. Me, I'm like, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah,
it's too
I'm
hot.
done. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I go like not even half a block. It's basically I'm doing our 100 meters, maybe just a little bit over from when we were restricted as far as our walking, just taking to a certain spot. I'm like, okay, that's it. And we'll go for our long walks in the evening, usually like 9, 10, it'll cool down. So it'll feel more like maybe in the 80s. But Baruch Hashem, it's all good.
Yes. There's a reason I live in Alaska.
Yeah. I mean, I went from Florida with hot and humid to summertime's here, hot and dry, but it's not summertime, but we definitely have a taste of summer right now.
Yeah.
So, but it's good. It's all good. I mean, we were still able to go out and about and do the things that we need to. And we were supposed to go tomorrow for an appointment in Tovia, which is Tiberias.
Right.
And but we canceled that and rescheduled for next week because in Tiberias it's supposed to be 112.
Oh gosh.
And even going in a car, just going from the car to the place, and we don't know if we'd have to wait outside. And so it's just we're like, let's just want to be wise about it. And so, but I do have some really good news.
Yes.
So
let's hear.
My friend Lisa King, the one that I told you about that took a travel assignment. She's a nurse and she took a travel assignment from Florida to New York, and she got the COVID-19 and was really bad. She left one hospital and my husband and I recommended a couple other hospitals, and her daughter met her, put her in. Anyways, she's out of the hospital. She's back home in Florida. So Baruch Hashem, Todah Hashem, that she's out, she's home, she's recovering. It may take a while. Her oxygen saturations need to be above 90, and that's what she's trying to do right now. So, but we're just such an answer to prayer.
Yes. Oh, that's great news.
And with that, I want to dedicate the show for Refuah Shlema for all those sick from the COVID-19 and other illnesses, for Itta Bat Rachel, for Lisa King, and also we've had some terrorist attacks here, some ramming. And so we had a soldier that died. Baruch Diana Emet for him. And an only child also.
That's tough.
Yeah, it's very heartbreaking when we lose one because we're all family. So it's heartbreaking. And then another, his name's Staff Sergeant Shadi Ibrahim. He's a soldier. He's Druze. So we have a mixture, everyone. So people that think that we are against others, we have those that are Arabs and those that are Druze. And so, but for him, he was a soldier that was injured in a ramming attack, and he lost his leg.
Oh no!
And so a refuah shlema for him, for everyone, a complete recovery, for physically, spiritually, and emotionally. That Hashem should just bring His touch and strengthen them in this time. It's rough, even in the midst of all of this and our situation that we go through. So, and I also just want to interject a reminder for the men. We know we have men that watch our show, and we really appreciate it. Gentlemen, please, if you would just refrain from any comments in the chat room or even after. We just want to create a safe space for the women and an open area where the women can comment or even ask questions in that, because we do take the questions, and we may answer in another show with that. And we love receiving questions. So ladies, keep your questions coming.
Yes. Good reminder. Thank you about that.
So I titled the show On Our Way to Mount Sinai, because we're all on this journey. We're all in the midst of Lag BaOmer, and Tzfat was closed down for Lag BaOmer, and only residents were allowed in. However, and I'm going to say a however or a but, there were people that came before Shabbat, and I have to tell you, I saw 3 times the amount of people here over Lag BaOmer, because it came up last Monday evening, actually. And also, thank you, everyone, for praying for me. I want to make sure I didn't forget to thank you all. Since we didn't have our show last week, I wasn't feeling well, but I'm well. Thank you so much for your prayers. I really appreciate it. So since we didn't get a chance to share about Lag BaOmer, which happened, as I said, last Monday evening, I wanted to be able to share about that today, and we'll continue to move on as we are making our way to Mount Sinai. So each year, there's tens of thousands of people go to Meron. Now, this year was a little different. Only 120 people were allowed into Meron. Many visit the resting place of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, a great Kabbalist, and the anniversary of his passing is also on this day. It's the 33rd day of the counting of the Omer, 33 days following the first night of Passover. And it's always on the 18th day of the month of ER, which I mentioned on our last show. ER is a month of healing. The word Lag is made up of the Hebrew letters Lamed and Gimel, which together have the numerical value of 33. BaOmer means of the Omer. And as I mentioned, it starts on the second day of Passover, and it culminates with the holiday of Shavuot, and which we're coming up to next week. And the first 33 days of the Omer are observed as a period of mourning. So there's no weddings, music, and haircuts are not done or permitted. And it's during this period, and some also do not shave. Now, what's the mourning all about? Rabbi Akiva, who was a great sage of the Mishnah and exerted a powerful influence on the Torah scholars of his day, to the point that he had 24,000 disciples, 24,000 students. Now, as great as his group was, they had one failing. They failed to show the proper love and respect for one another. And the tragic consequence of this failure was a brief but catastrophic epidemic that claimed the lives of the students, all 24,000 of them. So this period during which the epidemic took place was the first 32 days of the Omer. And significant that the death of the first group of students was the result of a lack of love and respect amongst themselves. Now, I want to interject something here before we move on. I just want to say that we, and I say we because I'm telling myself as well, I really feel that we need to be careful of the things that we say to one another. Last week, over a week ago, with social media, I saw some really hateful things that were said towards another person. I mean, more than one. And it was horrible. And people that are observers of Torah. And so that's a scary thing to do that. And I know we all make mistakes. It happens, but I think we really need to just make a conscious effort to really be careful. And instead of saying negative, let's bring the positive, let's bring the encouraging, and have the love and respect for one another with that. Okay. As my husband says, I'll get off my soapbox with that. Anyway, so let's continue on. So the 33rd day of the Omer signified a new period in the life of Rabbi Akiva. So since the last of his students of his legacy died, he established a new venue for his legacy. And this consisted of 5 sages. And their names were Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Nehemiah, and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. All of these names are familiar to any of the students of Mishnah or Talmud, but the most prominent among them is the sage Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, also known as Rashbi, was the first to teach Kabbalah and is the author of the classic text of Kabbalah, the Zohar, and Zohar meaning brilliance. And on the day of his passing, Rabbi Shimon instructed his disciples to mark the date as the day of my joy. And his passing was on the 33rd day of the Omer. So the mourning period ends on this day. Sadness is now forbidden. And it's a time of where mourning is now turned into joy and a time of celebrating. Like when we talked about, for instance, when we had Yom HaZikaron, our Memorial Day here in Israel, is a time of mourning, and it's followed right into that next day of Yom HaAtzmaut, our Independence Day, a time of celebration. So we're going from mourning into joy, into celebrating. So each Lag BaOmer, we celebrate Rabbi Shimon's life and the revelation of the mystical soul of Torah. Now, one of the biggest and well-known customs of Lag BaOmer is lighting bonfires. And this is done throughout Israel and worldwide, wherever there are religious Jewish communities that are found. And some say that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai gave spiritual light to the world with the revelation of the Zohar, so that the bonfires are lit to symbolize the impact of his teachings. And on Lag BaOmer, we also honor his memory by lighting candles, yahrzeit, or the bonfires, which are symbolic of the light provided by the eternal fire of Torah, particularly its inner dimensions, which were revealed by Rabbi Shimon. And I just want to show you, I actually brought out, can you see in the picture? So this is a yahrzeit candle.
Yes.
So we have like different ones here. This is actually a picture of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. I just wanted to give you an example. So we light these, and we also light yahrzeit candles also on the anniversary of someone's death. So now that we've come to that 33rd day of the Omer, there's singing and there's dancing. This year was a little bit different. Bonfires were banned. We couldn't have any bonfires. They did have something special set up in Meron, but only 120 people could go to Meron, and only the residents. And so since we couldn't have big bonfires, because here in Tzfat, we'd also have bonfires in specially marked places. So people did like small fires, like in their grills, like on their outdoor barbecues. And I actually saw a video of a Facebook friend of his boys dancing and looking at the fire. And it was really beautiful also because Meron was televised on Lag BaOmer, so we could all join in the singing and the dancing and seeing the bonfire and this beautiful light. So it was beautiful. It was different, but we have to find the beauty even in the midst of the times that we're in. And so even though we weren't allowed to do these things, we did them in different ways and still commemorated that day. And another thing that people do on Lag BaOmer is pray at the kever of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and he's buried at Meron. His kever is at Meron. Now, we've talked about praying at the kever of different tzaddikim in a previous show. Some people are opposed to praying at the kever of a tzaddik or a tzedeket. And in the past, I myself didn't understand. And as some have asked, or they said, well, why pray to someone that is dead? So I just want to reiterate that we're not praying to the tzaddik, the person that has passed. We're praying in the merit of that tzaddik. So now, Julie, I know we've missed story time, but I have a story.
Yay!
Yeah. So I want to share a story with you about this. about praying at the kever of a tzaddik or a tzedeket, a woman. So this story is actually from January 2009, and it's of Chief Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu, actually a former Chief Mordechai Eliyahu, and he was recovering from a life-threatening disease. The story was first told by Rabbi Lazer Brody on Arut Sheva. So now Rabbi Brody receives many calls in the framework of his work, and including a particularly noteworthy one that he received. The caller, an Israeli man, was clearly knowledgeable about how IDF infantry troops operate, the rabbi and former IDF unit veteran had said, and this is what he told him. He said, "My son is in the Givati Brigade, and his unit's job is to clean out areas around Gaza City. Outside one house, a woman dressed in black appeared and started yelling at them in Arabic, 'Ruchu min hon,' get out of here, it's dangerous." The troops thought she might be trying to protect her family, but they didn't want to take chances. The company commander called the regiment commander, and they went on to their next target. There, too, the same woman appeared and gave the same warning. The soldiers thought she probably came somehow through the tunnel network that Hamas had set up between houses, and one of the soldiers even yelled at her. Then they went to a third house, and the same woman appeared again. This time, all the soldiers froze. The soldiers then hooked up with a Golani engineering force whose job it was to blow up houses that were found to be booby-trapped. So this man's son's unit asked them to check these 3 houses, and they found all 3 of the houses that the woman had warned them away from had been booby-trapped. So the story didn't receive a high-level confirmation, though it made the ranks of the rumor mills, and many dismissed it as just that. But then Rabbi Shmuel Eliyahu, who is our chief rabbi here in Sfat, and the son of former chief rabbi of Israel Mordechai Eliyahu, was teaching students in Machon Meir in Jerusalem about the sublime level of soldiers fighting on behalf of Israel. In this connection, he said, there are soldiers who have been telling that in some places where they went in, there was a woman who told them not to enter certain buildings because they were booby-trapped. And that she said her name was Rachel. I asked a certain yeshiva dean about this story, and he told me that it wasn't a made-up story, but that he actually knew one of the soldiers involved, and he told me his name. Rav Shmuel Eliyahu continues, and he said, then the yeshiva dean asked me if it was in any way connected with the fact that my father, Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu, had left the hospital before the war and went to pray not once, not twice, but 3 times at Rachel's tomb, and went nowhere else to pray. I told him I didn't know, but that I would ask. So he said, in truth, he was a little bit afraid to ask him because he usually dismisses these kinds of stories, talking about his father. But he decided to go, and he asked him, do you remember that you told us one time about Rabbi Shalom Mutzafi of blessed memory during World War II, when the Germans seemed about to enter the Holy Land, and he prayed at Kever Rachel against the decree, and he said that he actually saw Rachel praying? My father said yes, he remembered. So I told him this story that I had heard, and I asked him, should we believe? Is it truth? And he said, yes, it's true. I asked him to explain, and he said in these words. Now, this is Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu, the father speaking, and he said, I told her, Rachel, a war is on. Don't withhold your voice from crying, based on Jeremiah 31:14-16. Go before God and pray for the soldiers who are sacrificing themselves for the nation of Israel, that they should strike and not be stricken. I told him, well, you know that she really did that. So his father asked, did she mention that I sent her? So Rav Eliyahu says everyone should make his own calculation. if this is the great level of the soldiers, and if this is the great power of prayer, then how can anyone say anything against them? Now, I can tell you that I've had experiences praying at the Kvarim of Tzaddikim, praying in the merit of that tzaddik. And it's been incredible times that I've had. And I know there are those that I've received emails from people that are like, well, I won't do that. Okay, that's fine. That's not something you have to. I'm not telling you that you have to. I'm just sharing my experience and then sharing this story with you, a true story of what happened. And miracles happen every day.
That story gave me chills.
It's amazing.
It is.
Amazing. There, like I said, there have been so many that, with Hashem's protection over us.
It's beautiful. Yeah. It is beautiful.
Excuse me. All right.
Yeah.
Moving on. So another thing that's done on Lag BaOmer is little boys who are 3 years of age get their upshirin. And it's a very special time in Meron. And unfortunately, that couldn't be done in Meron, but it still happens. It doesn't have to happen in Meron, but on Lag BaOmer, it's a very special time for the little boys. So what is upshirin? In Yiddish, it means to shear off or cut off. It's typically held when a boy turns 3 years old. It's his first haircut. So it's not unusual here to see a little boy with really long hair, or it'll be tied up in a ponytail, or it'll just be pulled up in a barrette until he turns 3 years old. The Hebrew word for haircut, sapar, also means a boundary. So the haircut setting a new standard for behavior. What was acceptable for a baby is now out of bounds. And we're going to talk about boundaries, because as parents, the boundaries are set up for their children. The custom is mentioned in Sha'ar HaKavanot by Rabbi Chaim Vital, the student of the great Kabbalist, the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria Ashkenazi. Rabbi Chaim Vital is known primarily as the reporter and the editor of the teachings of the Arizal, but he was also an accomplished Kabbalist and writer. Rabbi Chaim Vital said that his teacher, the Arizal, took his 3-year-old son to the resting place of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in Meron to cut his hair for the first time on Lag BaOmer. He spoke of the Arizal's act as an observance of the ancient and revered custom. The third birthday is very significant in the life of a Jewish boy. It's when he officially begins his Torah education and he starts to wear a kippah and tzitzit. It's a time for him where he is moving to a new stage of maturity. So why at 3 years old? Well, this transition stage derives from the mitzvah of Orlah. The term Orlah appears 3 different references in the Torah regarding truth, a brit milah, which is a circumcision, and the pursuit of truth. So we can see in Leviticus 19:23, it says, when you come into the land and plant any kind of tree for food, then you shall regard its fruit as forbidden. 3 years it shall be forbidden to you. It must not be eaten. Told you we're having a heat wave and it's a little dry. Excuse me, ladies. So a little boy's hair is not cut until he's 3 years old. Now, I have to tell you, I've always loved trees. I love being in nature. I love being in the midst of the trees. There's just something about just being away from everything and being in nature. And we can learn from trees. Now think about a tree. It's planted, and as it grows, those roots are going downward and outward, digging through that dirt, pushing through the hard places, through stones, through rubble, through dark places. And as the tree grows downward in depth, it's also moving upward to new heights, levels, upward in the light. growing can be uncomfortable and painful. So we grow in depths and in levels. As we're growing, we're pushing further down and growing upward, ladies. And there's pain in growth. It's not always feel good. I remember even in the natural, when I was growing as a kid and getting taller, I would get these shin splits in my legs. And I mean, painful things in my legs. So it was growing taller and changing, and there's painful times in our lives. Now, during this whole time of the counting of the Omer, we've been working on our midot, our character traits. We are making tikkun, we're repairing, we're correcting. And I want to share with you that I had some things rising up in me and things I wanted to get rid of. I was like, why are these coming up? Why is, like I react in this way, or what is happening? And so in my time with Hashem, I asked him, well, when was the first time that this arose? And I really wanted to know. I was really seeking because it was something that I wanted to work on, get rid of. And he showed me, I really felt like he showed me a memory of when it appeared. Ladies, I have to tell you, it was a very, very painful memory. I mean, just thinking about that time, it was very painful. And I took some time to work through it. I forgave the person that triggered. And Hashem also showed me another memory of this same thing that caused it. And again, I forgave that person that triggered this feeling. I also forgave myself. Forgiveness is an important part of working on our midot, working on our tikkun, forgiving others and forgiving ourselves. We talked so much about different things over these past weeks, ladies, but we didn't touch on forgiveness. And sometimes it's hard to forgive. And I think if we just make a conscious effort and just tell Hashem, I'm choosing to forgive this person, please help me through this. And whatever it is in your life. And there's times where things need to be cut away, removing the boundaries. So it frees us up from the things that hold us back. Sometimes we hold ourselves back. And because some of the things that we're facing or we're working on can be very difficult, can be very hard and scary to work on it. And I know how hard it can be to face all these things. Know that you're not alone, ladies. First and foremost, you have a creator. We have a creator who loves us and is with us. His love for us is so immense. And you also have us. You have Julie and I. You have the people in your life. So I really just want to take this time and encourage you to take that step forward. And there may be a cutting away of something. And Baruch Hashem, it may be painful and it will be a healing time. But the important thing is that we face those so that way we're opening ourselves up. We're in this transition time. We're in this time of growth. We're pushing through. We're removing the boundaries, just like those trees. When the roots are going down, it's pushing through. And even when it's pushing up out of the ground, it's pushing things up and out of the way and removing them. And it's coming up into that light. This is a time for us to allow our light to shine even brighter, opening ourselves up so that we can receive more from Hashem, that we can receive more of his Torah. I know I've said in the past, but we all need reminders. And as I share all these words with you, I am also speaking to myself and reminding myself as well. Because I don't want to share something with you that I'm not saying to myself as well, ladies. Now, as the children of Israel were on the journey to Mount Sinai, we also are on a journey. each of us, I think I mentioned this in the last show, we're all in different places, and we need to meet each other where we're at. Someone may be going through something that we've already gone through. Well, then we can be there to help and encourage them. Or we may have someone in our lives that is there and says, here I am, I'm here to help. You're not alone in this. It's important that we have love and respect for one another. So remember I talked about Rabbi Akiva's students? We need to have that love and respect for one another. We're here to build one another up. We're here to strengthen each other. Beautiful ladies, continue to blossom and shine bright. You all are so amazing. Look how far you've come. And we're only a short ways away from Shavuot. Next week, we're going to talk about Shavuot as we're coming up to this time, which marks the conclusion of the counting of the Omer and the day that the Torah was given to the children of Israel at Mount Sinai. It's an exciting time. This is an exciting time, what we're in. Even though it doesn't always feel good, it's an exciting time. Even though this whole situation that we've been coming through with the coronavirus, everything was shut down, you might get angry at me, but it's still exciting because we're changing.
Right.
This whole situation should have changed us in one way or another. And only ladies, each of us knows individually how it's changing us. But we're opening ourselves up because we're coming up to this time of Shavuot, which we're going to talk about next week because it's an exciting time. We're going to talk about one of the women in Tanakh and one of our amazing women of Tanakh we're going to talk about next week as well. And just keep doing what you've been doing. Keep shining. Just keep working on the things that you're working on until we're coming up to Mount Sinai. We're on our way, ladies. Our way.
We are. That reminds me of a dream. Can I interject now?
Oh, please do. Absolutely.
Okay. When I saw your title this morning, I was super excited because I've been on this journey of Torah only and coming out of the church for about 7 years now. Mm-hmm. But about, I think it was maybe 6 months or so before I had my little epiphany, so to speak, I had a dream about Mount Sinai. And I was on the mountain with a friend. And, well, I didn't know it was Mount Sinai at the time, but I was on a mountain and it was burning. And you know how there's hot spots that shoot up little flames all over the place during a forest fire or something?
Yes.
So we were on this mountain and these little hot spots kept coming up and we were running down the mountain trying to get off the mountain. But this loud booming voice was heard behind me. And it said, the mountain is not what you think it is. And I woke up and I was like, that was really weird because what do you mean this mountain isn't what I think it is, And a short time after that, when I realized the place I was in was not the place I needed to be, and I went back to what happened at Mount Sinai and what do I need to be doing? And I thought, you know what? It really wasn't what I thought it was. I thought Mount Sinai was for the Jews and only for the Jews. And then, we've got the next part that's for the Christians. And I was like, you know what? I really had a twisted view of what Mount Sinai was. And so that dream has just stuck with me ever since. Like, I'm getting to know what Mount Sinai really is. And so that's awesome. That's awesome that we're still heading there. Yeah,
wow.
We are still headed towards there.
Yes, it's the day where we receive the Torah for Hashem. gave the Torah to the Jewish people for us to be a light to the nation. And for you, as the Noach, as a Noahide, we need to be that light to the nations and sharing Torah with all of the nations of the world. That is fantastic. Wow, what a dream.
It was very significant. So, yeah, I got to share little nuggets on my trip because that's how I am. I find ways to insert little truths that speak to a person individually, and I never say anything negative about their religion or their belief, or I just find a way to insert little positive nuggets that get them to go, oh, wow, that's really cool. And so I got to do that a couple times on my trip, and it was amazing. In fact, one of the men, it was a retired gentleman that would drive his little scooter down to the tea shop every time it was open. And he would talk with Rachel, the owner, and he just spread so much joy. Like he paints these little ladybug rocks and he gives them out to people. And it's got a little tag attached to it about, you're beautiful and have a wonderful day. Or anyway, I don't even know how it came up, but he started saying something about Israel and something about the Hebrew language, which of course got me excited. So I asked him if he had studied the mystical meaning of the Hebrew letters and things like that, because he was that type of man that I would think would go deeper. And he goes, well, no, I haven't. And so I told him about Rabbi Skobac's YouTube videos on the alphabet, and he's like, I am going to watch those. He went home and watched them, and then I saw him the next time, and he was like, those are incredible. I want more. And so he asked for more videos, and it was wonderful. And then a couple of the other people that had come in, I had got to share little things too. So that always makes me feel super good that I can share something that they get excited about. And
Absolutely.
it was a good deal.
And all it takes is just that little bit. And you never know. Someone else now may come along and add to it.
Right. And he'll share what he learned. And it was great.
It's like you gave that tree a little bit of water, a little bit of food, to help it to grow and help it to, to draw him more to Torah. Hashem. That is beautiful for all the people that you've touched. I try to be a light. You do. You are. You're an amazing light, Julie. You really are. Thank you so much for sharing that. Beautiful. Absolutely
you're
beautiful.
Welcome. You're welcome. So, today's show was fantastic. And, there is power in forgiveness. There sure is. And it just releases so much in our soul that's holding us up and keeping us bound up. And we have to remember that forgiveness is not necessarily for the other person. And it's not justifying their wrong at all. It's releasing that bondage within ourselves so that we can grow higher and stronger. And
that's why it's important that we forgive ourselves as well.
Yes,
because
definitely.
we can get in the way. And when I was working on this, I was just like, we haven't talked about forgiveness. And ladies, sometimes a good cry is fantastic. It
Very
is so
cleansing.
Releasing. It is so liberating. And it's cleansing. Absolutely, Julie. It's cleansing. Yeah. Absolutely.
So if you ladies need to go cry, just go cry. Get it out.
Or scream. If you need to go have that time with Hashem, be truthful.
Right.
Just share with him. I've had my moments of crying. I've had my moments of shouting. I've had my moments of just even-keeled conversation. It's be who you are. Just be truthful to him and be true to yourself.
Exactly. Well.
So.
Is that what you have today? Or you
You want more?
I always want more.
I want more too.
Don't stop. All right, just a quick reminder, like our videos, Subscribe to Tanakh Talk and donate if we are making a difference, because we need to keep this studio running so we can bring you guys awesome programs. So we will see you next week, same time, same place. Leah, have a fantastic week.
You too.
I love you. Mwah.
All right. Love to you all, beautiful ladies. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Sounds good.
חשוב מכל חשוב והכרחי להיות ביחד. איפוק זו העוצמה, ויתור זו הגדולה, השאיפה והכמיהה. חושבים דוברים לובשים